I was looking at the Rangers and their history when you think they have gone basically from Mike Richter to Henrik Lundqvist to Igor Shesterkin.
Yeah.
How many teams in 30 years have gone basically lived with three goalies? Look at what the Maple Leafs have had to live through. Look at what Edmonton's living through. I mean, the fortune that the Rangers have had in goal for 3 decades is amazing.
It is, and it's just not an Edmonton Toronto issue. We're league wide. We're not producing quality goaltenders. If you go back to the 90s, how many star goaltenders were there? 10, 12? There was a ton. When you talk about your Eddie Belfours, your Marty Brodeurs, Patrick, Marty Turco. I mean, you can go on and say at least dozen teams had legit number one goalies.
By the way, that's Cujo. Cujo's online too. You better mention him.
Cujo. And now here we are in 2022, and we've got two of them playing against each other in a conference final, and everyone else scratching their heads. What kind of goaltending are we going to get tonight?
Yeah. Well, it raises the question, why? Do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, because nobody wants to be a goalie. I don't. Is it like referees? Are we running out of those as well? It's not the first choice. I've grown up in minor hockey. We've all done the minor hockey thing. How many parents want to stick their kid in net? It is a polarizing position. And I think the first choice is to have a defenseman or a forward, not putting your kid in net.
And let's face it, the diminishing returns. There's only two goalies on a team, whether you're 11 or you're 21. So the chances of advancement are much more difficult to be a goaltender in minor hockey, or in the United States, they call it youth hockey. It's very difficult. And it's also 3 times more expensive in a very expensive sport.
So, John, we're the biggest providers here in Canada for hockey players.
But not goaltenders.
We're the great Canadian goaltenders since Carey Price.
Well, here's the other thing that occurs to me, and I don't know whether this is a factor. Carey Price makes $10 million, doesn't he? Something in that neighborhood?
10 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who's next?
It was supposed to be Carter Hart.
You mean as far as Canadians, you mean?
No. Who's next in terms of goaltender salary?
Vasilevsky would be, I think, 9 or 9.5, John.
Yeah, right there.
Well, what occurs to me is there are how many players making more than Carey Price is at other positions. And you know yourself, if you're a pretty good goaltender, you're going to be around 4 or 5 million a year. There's the odd, we obviously have the 2 exceptions, but that's sort of the kind of number that a starting goaltender expects to get, where you've got dozens of players making more than that, who, relatively speaking, aren't better at their profession. I think the reluctance, number one, to allow a goaltender when you draft him to play in the NHL. More and more forwards and defensemen at age 18 are playing in the NHL right away. They don't want goaltenders to do that. They think they need 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years in the minors.
That's right.
That's number one. And then even if you are successful, your salary level is going to be significantly less than a comparable forward or defenseman.
Okay. So I'll put it to both of you. You're the new general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, Kent Hughes. You're the new general manager of the Florida Panthers last 18 months, Bill Zito, because Bobrovsky makes 10 million as well.
Yeah, those are the 3 big ones.
I mean,
and you're not winning cups with them.
I mean, if you're the fact that Carey Price is making that much money, are the Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs? Are the Montreal Canadiens playing for the Stanley Cup? Are the Florida Panthers playing for the Stanley Cup? Yeah. Is it worth it to overspend on a goaltender?
Well, and with the exception of Vasilevsky, they're not difference makers for you in Florida and in Montreal. I'll tell you what, guys. In the next 3 weeks, we're going to have a different conversation on that topic because we're going to see a Stanley Cup final, regardless of New York or Tampa Bay. It's going to be the haves and the have-nots when it comes to goaltending.
Right.
You're right.
Kemper's going to now prove to everybody in Colorado that you don't have to spend $10 million, that you can go with a 1A and a 1B, and this will be the future. So
Well-
Colorado's either going to sink or swim because they're going to face Vasilevsky or Shesterkin, who are bona fide star goaltenders. So which one is it going to be in 3 weeks from now?
Well, but this is not new. The Detroit Red Wings in the late 90s. Dare I remind you that Chris Osgood won the Stanley Cup as well in 2009. The Red Wings were a team that said we'd rather spend more money on quality defensemen, and we will put a above average goaltender in goal. Mike Vernon was one of those guys, but Osgood was another. Dom Hasek in 2002 was the exception, but Dom Hasek wasn't making a lot of money then, comparatively. So it's the fascination is where you spend your money. And goaltenders are kind of like running backs in football. Do they become disposable? That becomes the real question.